In the vast expanse of Siberia, where bitter winds howl and the landscape stretches into an endless horizon, a child was born into humble beginnings. This child, named Grigory Rasputin, would grow into a man whose very presence could send shivers down the spine of anyone who crossed his path. Tall and strong, with eyes that seemed to pierce the very soul, Rasputin was a figure of both terror and fascination. His life in the remote village of Pokrovskoye forged a worldview steeped in mysticism and survival. The duality of Rasputin's character was a compelling paradox. To the peasants of Siberia, he was a man touched by God, a healer and a seer who could bring solace to their hardships. Yet, to the aristocracy of Russia, he was a terrifying enigma, an uncouth peasant who wielded inexplicable influence over the highest echelons of power. Rasputin's early experiences in Siberia, where he witnessed the harsh realities of peasant life, imbued him with a sense of resilience and an understanding of human frailty. These formative years shaped his belief that true power came not from wealth or status, but from an innate connection to the spiritual realm. Rasputin's disdain for cleanliness was not merely a matter of personal neglect, it was a deliberate choice rooted in his religious convictions. He believed that cleanliness was a sin, a misguided attempt to erase the natural state of humanity as intended by the divine. In his view, the dirt and grime that covered his body were not symbols of neglect, but badges of spiritual purity. This belief was reinforced by his interpretation of Christian teachings, which suggested that true holiness required an embrace of one's natural state. During Rasputin's time, societal norms dictated strict adherence to hygiene, especially among the upper classes. Bathing was not merely a practice of cleanliness, but a ritual of social status. The aristocracy spent hours perfecting their appearance, donning perfumed garments and powdered wigs. In stark contrast, Rasputin's deliberate rejection of these norms served as a counter-cultural statement, challenging the very foundations of societal expectations. His holy filth became an emblem of his defiance, a testament to his commitment to a higher spiritual calling. Rasputin possessed an uncanny ability to manipulate those around him through the sheer force of his presence. His repulsive appearance and odor were tools in his arsenal of psychological warfare. By invoking disgust, Rasputin captivated and controlled his audience, turning revulsion into a form of fascination. The Russian aristocracy, unaccustomed to such raw and unfiltered behavior, found themselves ensnared by his otherworldly charisma. In many ways, Rasputin's approach mirrored modern psychological tactics employed by charismatic leaders. By breaking social norms and challenging accepted behaviors, he forced those around him to confront their own prejudices and fears. The shock and awe of his presence disrupted the carefully constructed veneer of aristocratic society, leaving them vulnerable to his influence. Within this chaos, Rasputin wielded power, using his ability to provoke strong emotional reactions as a means of control. Rasputin's influence over women, particularly those of the Russian aristocracy, was legendary. His intense gaze, described by many as hypnotic, created an immediate connection with those who met his eyes. In a society where women were often relegated to the background, Rasputin's focus and attention were intoxicating. His ability to communicate with a mixture of religious fervor and sensuality offered an escape from the rigid confines of their lives. Rasputin's use of religious and sexual metaphors created a sense of spiritual liberation among his female followers. He presented himself as a conduit to divine understanding, a holy man who could absolve sin and offer redemption. For women bound by societal constraints, Rasputin's presence was a breath of fresh air, a chance to explore desires that had long been suppressed. His charisma lay in his ability to make every woman feel seen and understood, breaking through the barriers of propriety with his raw and unfiltered approach. As Rasputin's influence grew, so did his role within Russian society. He became a fixture in the court of Tsar Nicholas II, wielding unprecedented power over the royal family. His relationship with the Romanovs, particularly with Tsarina Alexandra, became a subject of intense scrutiny and speculation. To the Russian elite, Rasputin was a dangerous outsider, a man whose presence threatened the stability of the empire. Politically, Rasputin's influence was both a symptom and a catalyst of the unrest brewing within Russia. The early 1900s were a time of social upheaval, with revolutionary sentiments gaining momentum among the populace. Rasputin's presence within the royal court served as a lightning rod for criticism, as many blamed him for the perceived ineptitude of the ruling family. His ability to navigate the treacherous waters of Russian politics, despite his peasant origins, was a testament to his cunning and adaptability. Rasputin's mastery of religious mysticism and manipulation was central to his influence. He skillfully blended elements of Christianity with his unique spiritual beliefs, positioning himself as a holy man with the power to absolve sins. This blend of fervor and manipulation allowed him to cultivate a devoted following, particularly among the elite. In Russian culture, religion held a place of profound importance, and Rasputin exploited this reverence to his advantage. He presented himself as a spiritual authority, a man capable of offering salvation and divine insight. His teachings often challenged traditional religious doctrines, presenting an alternative path to spiritual enlightenment. This challenge to the status quo, combined with his charismatic personality, made Rasputin a figure of both reverence and controversy. Rasputin's lifestyle and actions left an indelible mark on Russian culture and history. He became a symbol of decadence, a representation of the excesses and moral decay of the Russian aristocracy. His antics, both shocking and captivating, highlighted the growing disconnect between the ruling class and the common people. In literature and media, Rasputin has been portrayed as a villain, a madman, and a mystical figure. His story has been retold countless times, each interpretation adding to the mythos surrounding his life. The cultural impact of Rasputin's legacy serves as a reminder of the power of narrative as his life continues to captivate and intrigue audiences around the world. As we conclude this exploration of Rasputin's life, it's essential to consider his lasting legacy and historical significance. Rasputin's story is not merely one of rise and fall, it is a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked influence and the fragility of power. His ability to navigate the complex dynamics of Russian society, despite his humble beginnings, underscores the unpredictable nature of history. Rasputin's life has been the subject of endless reinterpretation, with each telling adding new layers to the myth and mystery surrounding his existence. His story serves as a testament to the enduring power of charisma and the impact of individual agency on the course of history. As we move forward, Rasputin's legacy remains a poignant reminder of the complexities of human nature and the ever-shifting tides of power. Rasputin's arrival in St. Petersburg marked the beginning of a chapter in Russian history that would be defined by his extraordinary charisma and influence. At the heart of his allure was a profound belief in his own mystical abilities, combined with an otherworldly presence that drew people to him like moths to a flame. His conviction was not merely an act, but a deep-seated belief that he was a conduit for divine intervention. This authentic self-assurance made him a magnetic figure, particularly to women who were wary of the superficiality of the aristocratic circles in which they moved. Charisma, as a concept, has long been associated with leadership and influence. It is the ability to inspire devotion and enthusiasm in others through personal charm and appeal. Rasputin's charisma was palpable. It was an intoxicating blend of mysticism and confidence that invited those around him to believe in the impossible. He exuded a sense of purpose and destiny, which many found irresistible. In the context of early 20th century Russia, a society rife with uncertainty and upheaval, Rasputin's presence offered a semblance of stability and hope. The psychology of persuasion played a significant role in Rasputin's ability to influence those around him. His methods were not overtly manipulative, but rather relied on subtlety and suggestion. He would speak in riddles and parables, leaving room for interpretation and personal connection. This approach allowed his followers to project their desires and fears onto him, making the bond between them deeply personal and, therefore, all the more powerful. Historical examples of charismatic figures who have wielded similar influence abound. From religious leaders to political figures, charisma has often been the catalyst for significant social and cultural change. Like Rasputin, figures such as Joan of Arc, Gandhi, and even modern leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. have used their personal magnetism to inspire movements and effect change. However, unlike these figures, Rasputin's influence was shrouded in scandal and controversy, adding another layer to the mystique that surrounded him. Among those who fell under Rasputin's spell, none were more significant than Alexandra Fyodorovna, the Tsarina of Russia. Her relationship with Rasputin was not born of romantic desire, but rather from a profound desperation to save her son, Alexis, who was afflicted with hemophilia. In a time when medical science offered little hope, Rasputin's intervention seemed nothing short of miraculous. Each time Alexis suffered a bleeding episode, Rasputin's presence would coincide with the boy's recovery, cementing his status as a savior in Alexandra's eyes. The impact of maternal desperation on decision-making cannot be overstated. For Alexandra, the survival of her son was paramount, and she was willing to overlook convention, scandal, and even the counsel of her advisors to ensure his well-being. This desperation made her vulnerable to Rasputin's influence, creating a dependency that he exploited with ruthless efficiency. Rasputin's absences, framed as spiritual retreats, only heightened Alexandra's gratitude and reliance on him, further entwining their fates. Historical analysis reveals that influential advisors often emerge in times of crisis, wielding significant power behind the throne. Figures like Thomas Cromwell and Rasputin share a commonality in their ability to leverage personal relationships to gain political influence. Dependency, in this context, becomes a powerful tool for manipulation, as those in power become increasingly reliant on their advisors for guidance and support. Rasputin's reputed healing abilities remain one of the most intriguing aspects of his legacy. His interventions in Alexis's health crisis defied explanation and contributed significantly to his influence over the Russian royal family. The question of how Rasputin was able to achieve such results has been the subject of much speculation and debate. One potential explanation lies in the realm of psychological effects and placebo. Rasputin's presence, coupled with his confident demeanor and soothing words, may have had a calming effect on both Alexis and his anxious family. The power of belief and the mind's ability to influence physical health is well documented in the field of psychosomatic medicine. It is possible that Rasputin's presence created a psychological environment conducive to healing, even if the effects were not directly attributable to any mystical power. Another consideration is the role of coincidence. Hemophilia, as a condition, is unpredictable, and spontaneous recoveries, while rare, are not impossible. Rasputin's interventions may have coincided with natural fluctuations in Alexis's condition, leading to the perception of miraculous healing. Faith healing practices, both historical and contemporary, provide a framework for understanding Rasputin's influence. Throughout history, individuals claiming divine healing powers have emerged in times of crisis, offering hope and comfort to those in need. Rasputin's reputation as a healer was not unique, but the context of his influence within the Russian imperial court amplified its impact. Rasputin's transition from a rural mystic to a figure of immense power within the Russian imperial court was facilitated by a confluence of factors. His reputation as a healer and spiritual guide opened doors that would otherwise have remained closed to a man of his humble origins. Once inside the court, Rasputin adeptly navigated the intricacies of palace politics, leveraging his influence over Alexandra to gain favor and access to the highest echelons of power. Religion, as a political tool, has been employed throughout history to legitimize authority and consolidate power. Rasputin's brand of mysticism, with its emphasis on divine intervention and spiritual authority, provided a veneer of religious legitimacy to his influence. This was particularly potent in a society where religion played a central role in both public and private life. The role of mysticism in governance is not without precedent. In societies where the divine is seen as an integral part of ruling authority, figures like Rasputin can wield considerable power. Their ability to bridge the gap between the spiritual and the temporal allows them to influence decisions and policies in ways that secular advisors cannot. Rasputin's status as an outsider, both socially and geographically, contributed to his unique perspective on the Russian court. Unencumbered by the conventions and expectations of the aristocracy, he was able to approach problems with a fresh perspective. This outsider status, while initially a barrier, eventually became one of his greatest assets, allowing him to challenge norms and propose solutions that others might have dismissed. As Rasputin's influence grew, so too did the scandals and controversies that surrounded him. His unorthodox methods and associations with questionable figures raised eyebrows and fueled rumors, yet his hold over the royal family remained unshaken. The dichotomy of his position, both reviled and revered, underscored the complexity of his character and the volatile nature of his influence. Before Rasputin's integration into the imperial court, he was already infamous for his association with a secretive religious sect known as the Khlai. This group espoused a radical theology that viewed sin as a necessary step towards divine forgiveness. The concept was as audacious as it was controversial. By sinning as much as possible, one could experience the full measure of God's grace through repentance. The psychology of cults provides insight into the appeal of such radical beliefs. Cults often attract individuals searching for meaning and belonging, offering a sense of community and purpose that is absent in their everyday lives. Rasputin's sect, with its promise of spiritual elevation through transgression, appealed to those disillusioned with traditional religious practices. Comparative analysis of religious sects reveals common patterns in their formation and development. From the Cathars of medieval Europe to modern-day cults, the allure of alternative religious experiences has persisted throughout history. These movements often arise in response to societal upheaval, offering adherents a sense of control and agency in uncertain times. The theological underpinnings of Rasputin's sect were rooted in a distorted interpretation of Christian doctrine. By framing sin as a pathway to redemption, Rasputin challenged conventional moral and ethical standards, positioning himself as a spiritual leader with the authority to redefine the boundaries of acceptable behavior. The societal reactions to Rasputin's sect were predictably polarized. While some viewed him as a visionary with a unique understanding of the divine, others saw him as a dangerous charlatan peddling heretical ideas. This division only served to enhance his mystique, drawing more followers to his cause even as it solidified the opposition against him. Rasputin's teachings were built on a paradoxical foundation, the idea that sinning was a necessary prelude to holiness. This dichotomy of sin and redemption challenged traditional theological interpretations and raised profound questions about the nature of morality and forgiveness. Theological interpretations of sin and redemption vary widely across religious traditions. In Christianity, sin is often seen as a separation from God, with redemption achieved through repentance and divine grace. Rasputin's teachings took this concept to an extreme, suggesting that the more one sinned, the greater the opportunity for redemption. The ethical implications of such beliefs are significant. By justifying immoral acts as a means to spiritual enlightenment, Rasputin's teachings blurred the line between right and wrong. This moral ambiguity allowed his followers to rationalize behavior that would otherwise be deemed unacceptable, creating a moral landscape where traditional boundaries no longer applied. The influence of religious leaders on moral behavior is a topic of enduring interest. Throughout history, charismatic figures have shaped the ethical frameworks of their followers, often leading to shifts in societal norms and values. Rasputin's impact on the moral compass of his adherents is a testament to the power of religious authority and its ability to redefine the parameters of acceptable conduct. Rasputin's influence extended beyond the confines of the Russian imperial court, leaving a lasting imprint on society as a whole. His actions and the scandals that followed contributed to the growing unrest that would eventually culminate in the Russian Revolution. The role of scandal in political downfall is well documented. Public perception and the erosion of trust in leadership can have profound implications for stability and governance. Rasputin's presence, with its attendant controversies, exacerbated existing tensions within Russian society, undermining confidence in the monarchy and fueling discontent among the populace. The influence of personal relationships on public policy is another area where Rasputin's impact is evident. His close association with the royal family allowed him to wield power in matters of state, often to the detriment of established protocols and procedures. This blurring of personal and political boundaries contributed to a climate of uncertainty and suspicion, further destabilizing the regime. The historical context of the Russian Revolution provides a backdrop against which Rasputin's actions can be understood. The social and economic conditions of the time, coupled with the monarchy's perceived disconnect from the needs of the people, created a fertile ground for revolution. Rasputin's influence, while not the sole cause, was a significant factor in the chain of events that led to the fall of the Romanovs. As we reflect on Rasputin's legacy, it is clear that his story is one of complexity and contradiction. His ability to navigate the corridors of power, despite his humble origins and controversial beliefs, speaks to the enduring power of charisma and the impact of individual agency on the course of history. Rasputin's life serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities of human nature and the ever-shifting tides of power. The early 20th century in Russia was a time of social upheaval and spiritual searching, fertile ground for mystics and prophets like Grigory Rasputin. Rasputin claimed to be a holy man, imbued with divine essence that made his presence and touch spiritually transformative. He asserted that sleeping with him was an act of worship, a claim that drew women from all walks of life into his orbit. These gatherings, shrouded in secrecy, offered a heady mix of spiritual enlightenment and forbidden pleasure, appealing to those seeking to break free from societal constraints. In a society bound by rigid norms and taboos, the allure of Rasputin's promises was irresistible. Women from the highest echelons of society found themselves mingling with peasants in barns and dimly lit basements, united in their quest for spiritual ecstasy. These clandestine meetings became a subversive counterculture, challenging the established order and spreading through underground networks like wildfire. The role of mysticism during this period cannot be understated. It offered a sense of hope and wonder in a world teetering on the brink of change. Rasputin's claims resonated deeply, particularly among women who felt trapped by societal expectations. His gatherings provided a space where they could explore their spirituality and sexuality outside the constraints of conventional morality. Rasputin's followers were unwavering in their devotion, viewing any attempt to suppress their gatherings as a testament to the righteousness of their cause. This persecution complex drew parallels to religious narratives of martyrdom, fueling their belief that they were part of a divine mission. The fanatical loyalty of Rasputin's adherents was akin to that of cults throughout history, where persecution only served to strengthen their resolve. The psychology of cult loyalty is complex, rooted in a deep-seated need for belonging and purpose. For Rasputin's followers, he was more than a spiritual leader. He was a conduit to the divine. Their devotion was further entrenched by the belief that suffering and persecution were noble and brought them closer to spiritual truth. This mindset fortified Rasputin's influence, allowing him to wield power with an almost unassailable authority. Historical examples of religious persecution highlight how such experiences can galvanize a movement. Rasputin's followers drew strength from their shared trials, finding camaraderie and identity in their opposition to societal norms. This dynamic is evident in many religious movements, where persecution serves to validate and solidify belief systems, creating a powerful bond among adherents. Rasputin's journey from obscure mystic to political puppet master is a testament to his uncanny ability to navigate the intricacies of power. Arriving in St. Petersburg, he quickly captivated the Russian aristocracy with his charismatic presence and enigmatic aura. His ability to make debauchery feel sacred endeared him to those seeking spiritual and physical liberation. The social and political climate of St. Petersburg was ripe for Rasputin's ascent. The aristocracy, embroiled in its own decadence, found a kindred spirit in Rasputin's unorthodox approach to spirituality. His relationship with Alexandra, the Serena, was pivotal in his rise. Her unwavering belief in his divine mission elevated him to a position of unprecedented influence, effectively making him the shadow ruler of Russia. The dynamics of power within the Russian aristocracy were complex, characterized by intrigue and manipulation. Rasputin's charisma allowed him to exploit these dynamics, securing his position as a trusted advisor to the Serena. His influence extended far beyond spiritual matters, as he began to meddle in political affairs, reshaping the landscape of Russian governance. Rasputin's involvement in political affairs proved disastrous for Russia, particularly during the tumultuous years of World War I. His advice, often based on spiritual whims rather than strategic acumen, had catastrophic consequences. Rasputin's opposition to the war, rooted in his belief that God had foretold Russia's defeat, undermined military efforts and sowed discord within the government. His method of selling government positions to the highest bidder further exacerbated the situation, leading to widespread corruption and incompetence. Rasputin's influence over appointments meant that key positions were filled by those loyal to him rather than by merit, crippling the effectiveness of the government. His interference in military decisions, often based on astrological signs, resulted in tragic losses on the battlefield. The impact of charismatic leaders on political decision making is a recurring theme in history. Rasputin's ability to sway the Tsarina, and by extension, the Russian government highlights the dangers of personal beliefs overshadowing rational governance. His actions contributed to the decline of the Romanov dynasty, setting the stage for the revolution that would soon engulf Russia. From the perspective of German intelligence, Rasputin's presence in the Russian government was a boon. His inept meddling weakened Russia from within, achieving what no military campaign could. External powers viewed the chaos within Russia with a mix of amusement and strategic advantage, recognizing the destabilizing effect of Rasputin's influence. Espionage and intelligence strategies during World War I were complex, involving a delicate balance of deception and manipulation. The German perspective on Rasputin's influence underscores the importance of understanding internal dynamics as a means of exerting external pressure. Rasputin's actions, though seemingly irrational, played into the hands of Russia's adversaries, highlighting the global impact of his influence. By December 1916, Rasputin's influence had become untenable even among his allies. A group of nobles, led by Prince Felix Yusupov, plotted his assassination, resulting in one of history's most bizarre murder attempts. The plan was straightforward: invite Rasputin to Yusupov's palace, poison him, and dispose of the body. However, Rasputin's survival defied all expectations, adding to his mythos. The failed assassination attempt reads like a macabre comedy, with Rasputin consuming enough poison to kill several men, yet remaining unaffected. His resilience seemed almost supernatural, reinforcing the belief that he was protected by divine forces. The conspirators' desperation led to more drastic measures, culminating in a series of events that only deepened the mystery surrounding Rasputin. Historical assassination attempts often take on legendary status, and Rasputin's is no exception. The role of superstition in historical narratives is evident in the way his survival was perceived, adding to the aura of invincibility that surrounded him. Rasputin's ability to withstand such efforts only bolstered his legend, making him an even more enigmatic figure in the eyes of his followers. Rasputin's influence was a significant factor in the collapse of the Russian Empire. His interference in political affairs undermined the stability of the government, contributing to the growing discontent among the populace. The brewing revolution went unnoticed by Rasputin, who was too absorbed in his own power to recognize the signs of impending change. The decline of the Romanov dynasty was precipitated by a combination of factors, with Rasputin's influence serving as a catalyst for unrest. His actions alienated key figures within the government, eroded public trust, and exacerbated existing tensions. The role of individual influence in large-scale political change is evident in Rasputin's story, highlighting the profound impact one person can have on the course of history. As the empire teetered on the brink of collapse, Rasputin remained oblivious to the forces gathering against him. His story serves as a cautionary tale of hubris and the perils of unchecked power. The revolution that would soon engulf Russia was a direct consequence of the instability he helped foster, marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in Russian history. In conclusion, Rasputin's life and influence are a testament to the complexities of power and human nature. His rise from obscurity to prominence is a story of charisma, manipulation, and the allure of the mystical. Rasputin's impact on the Russian Empire was profound, shaping the course of events in ways that continue to resonate in history. His legacy is a reminder of the enduring power of individual agency and the unpredictable nature of history. In the annals of history, few deaths have been as dramatic and enigmatic as that of Grigory Rasputin. The tale of his assassination reads like a macabre legend, a chilling testament to his resilience and the desperation of those who sought to end his influence. Rasputin's final night on Earth was a chaotic blend of fear and fury, a reflection of the turbulent times in which he lived. On the night of December 29, 1916, a group of conspirators gathered with a singular aim: to eliminate the monk whose grip on the Russian royal family had become a national scandal. Led by Prince Felix Yusupov, the conspirators lured Rasputin to the Moika Palace in St. Petersburg under the pretense of a social gathering. Unknown to Rasputin, the evening's refreshments were laced with a lethal dose of cyanide. However, to the conspirators' astonishment, Rasputin consumed the poisoned cakes and wine without showing any signs of distress. Desperate and bewildered, Yusupov resorted to his revolver. shooting Rasputin at close range. Believing the deed done, the conspirators celebrated briefly before planning the disposal of the body. Yet, Rasputin's seemingly lifeless form defied all logic. When they returned, he had vanished, only to be discovered crawling across the courtyard, clinging to life with a tenacity that bordered on the supernatural. In a final, frenzied attempt to escape his fate, Rasputin lunged at Yusupov, attempting to strangle him. It took several more gunshots and a brutal beating to subdue the monk, whose body was eventually bound and cast into the icy Neva River. The subsequent autopsy revealed a haunting truth: Rasputin had drowned. Despite the poison, the bullets, and the bludgeoning, he was still alive when he hit the water, his lungs filled with river water, his hands bloodied from trying to claw his way free from the icy grave. Rasputin's death proved as legendary as his life, a testament to his resilience, or perhaps something more mysterious. Rasputin's life was steeped in mysticism, his influence over the Romanovs seemingly bolstered by his prophetic visions. One such prophecy, written shortly before his death, would echo through Russian history with chilling accuracy. In a letter to Tsarina Alexandra, Rasputin foretold his own murder, warning that if it were at the hands of nobles, the Romanov dynasty would collapse and the royal family would meet violent deaths. This prophecy, initially dismissed as the ravings of a paranoid mind, gained ominous significance in the wake of Rasputin's murder. Within mere months, Russia was engulfed in the throes of revolution. Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate, and the Romanovs were imprisoned. Rasputin's prediction of their violent end materialized on a brutal night in July 1918, when the entire family was executed by Bolshevik revolutionaries in a grim basement in Ekaterinburg. Historians have long debated the influence of Rasputin's prophecy. Was it mere coincidence that events unfolded as he had foreseen, or did his death truly unsettle the delicate balance of power within Russia? Rasputin's scandals had undeniably tarnished the Romanovs' reputation, turning public sentiment against the once revered dynasty. His absence left a void that the royal family struggled to navigate, unable to make the critical decisions that might have altered their fate. Rasputin's association with the Romanov family was a double-edged sword, bringing both perceived salvation and eventual ruin. His influence over Tsarina Alexandra was profound, fueled by her belief in his spiritual powers and his purported ability to heal her hemophiliac son, Alexei. Yet, Rasputin's presence at court became a symbol of corruption and moral decay, his debauched lifestyle and controversial behavior igniting public outrage. The media of the time capitalized on every scandal, portraying Rasputin as a malevolent force corrupting the heart of the Russian monarchy. Satirical cartoons and lurid headlines painted a picture of a royal family under the sway of a lecherous mystic. Public perception of the Romanovs plummeted, their legitimacy eroded by the constant barrage of scandal and gossip. This reputational damage was a critical factor in the Romanovs' downfall. As revolution brewed, the royal family found themselves isolated, their support among the populace dwindling. Rasputin, the man who had claimed to protect them, had inadvertently hastened their demise. His death removed a vital, albeit controversial, advisor, leaving the Romanovs adrift in a sea of political upheaval. The execution of the Romanov family was the grim culmination of a dynasty's fall from grace. The political and social upheavals that led to this tragic end were complex, fueled by discontent with the monarchy and the ravages of World War I. The Bolsheviks, who seized power amid the chaos, viewed the Romanovs as symbols of the old regime, a threat to their revolutionary ideals. On the night of July 17, 1918, Nicholas Sue Alexandra and their children were led to a basement under the guise of being moved to a safer location. Instead, they faced a firing squad, their lives extinguished in a hail of bullets. This brutal act sent shockwaves across the globe, a stark reminder of the revolutionary fervor that had gripped Russia. Rasputin's prophecy of violent deaths had come to pass, his words hauntingly prophetic. Some argue that his influence extended even beyond the grave, his death setting in motion the events that led to the Romanovs' execution. Others contend that the revolution was inevitable, a product of historical forces that even Rasputin could not control. Rasputin's life and death left an indelible mark on history, his legacy one of charismatic corruption and the dangers of unchecked influence. He remains a symbol of how a single individual, through charisma and manipulation, can wield power disproportionate to their station. Rasputin's story is a cautionary tale of how the allure of mysticism and the promise of divine protection can blind even the most powerful to the dangers lurking within their own ranks. In the years since his death, Rasputin has become a cultural icon, his name synonymous with intrigue and debauchery. His life has been the subject of countless books, films, and songs, each attempting to unravel the mystery of the man who defied death and altered the course of history. Rasputin's legacy serves as a reminder of the fragility of power and the unpredictable nature of human influence. In the end, Rasputin's greatest seduction was not of any individual, but of fate itself. His ability to navigate the complexities of the Russian court, to manipulate those around him, and to foresee the consequences of his actions, ensured that his impact would be felt long after his death. Rasputin remains a testament to the enduring power of individual agency, a symbol of how one man's ambition and insight can shape the destiny of a nation.